What's up, guys? Welcome back to the Stick Talk podcast. We're here with episode 13.
13. Yeah.
13. With a good friend of ours, Brian Moncada. Welcome to the show.
What's up, guys? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, excited to have you on here. And let's just jump right into it. You've been on a bunch of podcasts recently, so we'll try to ask some more unique questions and get some other parts of your story out of you here.
I was just giving you guys a compliment, though, because this podcast is sick. Like, I was telling you guys from the moment I walked in here, I was like, first of all, it's in a freaking... Literally, it's a renovated castle, cathedral, like church, and it's a cigar bar. Yep. And you guys I would never leave this place, and you guys told me you don't leave this place. So I'm like, now I see why.
Yeah, so we're here on like a Saturday morning, about to light up some cigars, have some caffeinated beverages, and get into some podcasting. So for our audience out there, I'm sure a lot of them are familiar with you because, you know, our audience is primarily coming from Twitter, which you've done a really good job on recently. But just give a quick intro to who you are and what you're all about.
Yeah, Brian Moncada, founder of AdMen.com. We're a YouTube advertising agency that specializes in helping info product businesses scale past 7 and 8 figures with YouTube ads. We've worked with some pretty big names, guys you probably also follow. And, you know, now I'm here to just talk about what we do, I guess, and help you guys.
Yeah. Dude, when you say big names, like, you're one of the guys out there that like actually has big names to back it up.
I appreciate that.
You have like industry titans, like people that we all look up to, and I'm sure you looked up to and still do to this day, which is just so dope. So we'll get into like that journey on how you're able to partner with guys like this and maintain relationships with them, because that'll be super interesting. But we always like to go back to the foundational aspects of like, who was Brian as a kid? Where did you grow up? How did you get into entrepreneurship?
For sure.
Walk us through that part of your story.
So growing up, I mean, I was born in Texas, San Antonio, Texas. You know, grew up honestly super insecure. So I was born with a birth condition called pectus excavatum. My chest is indented. So naturally growing up, I didn't take my shirt off. I would wear an Allen Iverson jersey in the pool when I was swimming because I didn't want guys and girls to make fun of me. Though. You know, at least it was AI, right? And and so you know, that was obviously pretty insecure a time of my life, just trying to gain some confidence. And so I stumbled across obviously fitness, health, and started building my body in the gym. That gave me some confidence and really set me down the path of personal development. So fitness was my first thing that got me like some confidence and liking myself, if that makes sense. So I've always had some sort of insecurity deep-rooted that I think fuels me now, even to this day. And so fast forward to college, I'm in Arizona State University, and you know, I still am not satisfied with who I am, and I'm like, I'm gonna document my fucking fitness journey on YouTube. And so I start documenting, vlogging, you know, kind of like doing what I'm doing now for my content, but like showing my fitness transformation from going from 118 pounds my senior year of college to like 160, like just bulking up, which is crazy, yeah. And so that's how I get my YouTube start. And then I'm doing like, you know, I'm trying to learn skills, but I'm not making any money. And I'm like, I need to learn sales. And so I learned door-to-door sales, do that for a few summers. And then
I selling door-to-door?
I started off with home security, selling for a company called Protection One. So I, you know, I'd get dropped off on area, and then I would just door knock 100 doors every single day and just try to sell home security. And I'm like, you guys want to buy a home security system? Like, that wasn't my pitch, obviously. But like, that was the whole summer. I got told no, fuck off a lot. And I ultimately ended up breaking even coming back from that summer. So I learned a lot, didn't make much money, but it built my confidence. And then I get a job with Pepsi after I graduate college. And I'm like, oh man, you know, I made it. I'm going to get paid $60,000 a year after I graduate. Most of my college friends, by the way, in my fraternity as well, they don't have any gigs lined up. They don't know what they're going to do. And like, at least I get this $60,000 job. 2 weeks onto the job, I'm like, this fucking sucks. Like, everybody here doesn't like their life. They've gave up on their goals and dreams. And so I just felt like I had to go change. And keep in mind, I'm listening to Grant Cardone every single day. Young Hustlers on his podcast, just going live on his YouTube channel. And he's just like, you got to get a sales commission only, man. You got to quit your job, man. Stop being scared, man. And I'm like, all right, dude, fuck it, let's go. And so I ended up quitting that job 2 weeks after I got it. My parents were like, you're crazy. This is what you're supposed to be doing. Get a job, all this stuff that we're told growing up. And I'm like, no, I'm going to go do sales. And I got a job doing a commission only, $35,000 a year base salary plus commission, cold call sales job for a startup company called ZenReach. And I was calling over 100 business owners every single day, trying to sell them on a smart Wi-Fi technology. And so combine that with my door-to-door sales. I'm doing cold calling. And then I get good at that, become best on my team. I want to become a sales manager, but I figure out the sales managers don't even make that much money more than I'm making. And I'm like, okay, I got to get a better job with uncapped commission now. Then I go do door-to-door sales again. And then I go do selling solar in Yorba Linda, California. And so I do that for a few months, and then I realize, I can sell a solar system to a homeowner right now, but I don't get paid on that deal until 3 months, 4 months, maybe when it gets installed. And I have $5,000 in my bank account. Like, I'm not really that well financially set up, and it just doesn't make sense. And so, anyways, that all happens. Then I make the opportunity to go work for Dean Graziosi. And then I cold email Dean Graziosi, which I know you guys know the story. I create the opportunity to go work for him. I worked for him for 3 years. I learned digital marketing, direct response marketing, because I knew I wanted to build an online business, have my own agency. Not my own agency, but just have my own online business. And I worked for him for 3 years. I learned everything about YouTube ads in that vehicle. I use that now to do what we do at adspend.com.
Real quick, what was the cold email? What'd you say? I
said, Dean, this might seem crazy, ... That was the subject line. And then it was basically like, Dean, this might seem crazy, ... But your book, Millionaire Success Habits, has changed my life. And it did. It helped me discover my purpose. I don't know if you guys ever read that book, Millionaire Success Habits.
I went through, that was when the free plus shipping funnels were
so you got hit with that ad, right? Yeah. I got hit with that ad as well. This is this is when I was doing my cold call sales job. And, I wasn't that happy with where I was at. And I was like, okay, how can I go to the next level? Yeah. And then I read the book, did the 7 levels deep exercise, discovered my true purpose.
Why,
dude? And I got on the 7th level and I was bawling my eyes out because I'm like, holy fuck, this hits. Yeah. And, yeah, man.
That's so dope.
Yeah.
So you're in a situation that I feel like a lot of our audience and even us can relate to. Is like you're fresh out of college. You've had some experience in sales, some experience working corporate. At that point, like what it is you want out of life, right? You don't want a capped salary. You don't want to work at a company that you don't really have a huge impact on its growth. And you have what you said, $5,000 in your bank account.
Yeah, I was like just eating my savings account, doing door-to-door sales.
Yep. And it sounds like what really propped you up for an opportunity with Dean and to have success that you have now is it sounds like you had the mentality of working to learn rather than to earn.
Yeah.
And so maybe tap into that a little bit, like books like Dean's and
Rich Dad Poor Dad, dude. Honestly, Rich Dad Poor Dad it was work to learn, not to earn, right? You go from employee to solopreneur to business owner to investor. That's the cash flow quadrant. So I was like, okay, I'm an employee right now, and but I'm not learning from the person who has the vehicle that I want. That was the big shift for me. I was like, do I want to become a door-to-door sales manager? Like, I don't know. Yeah. So if I keep doing what I'm doing now, I'm going to keep getting more of the same or a little bit better, right? And it's like, I always wanted to have my own online business because before, remember, I was having my own YouTube channel. I was branding myself, trying to start an online business. I was just in the wrong vehicle at that time too because I was selling to 14, 15, 16, 17-year-olds who don't have much money either. And so they can't buy much. Long story short, I'm like, who has a lifestyle and a business that I kind of want to model? And Dean is great at marketing. He has an online business. He speaks on stage. I kind of want to do that. I got to go learn from him.
I want to talk more about, my voice is tragically bad today, but anyways, I want to talk about your experience working with Dean. You have no YouTube skills and you're learning YouTube ads from one of the biggest marketers of our generation, right? Talk me through the mindset of that. Were you nervous? Did you feel like you had to perform to some level of expectation in front of Dean? Like, what was that like?
Yeah, so I think in the email, I kind of already expected to how am I going to win this guy's business, right? Because I got to get him to take me seriously. So in the email originally, I was like, look, I'm already living in Scottsdale, Arizona, which was a lie because I was in Yorba Linda, California. But I knew if I said I wasn't in Scottsdale, they wouldn't have taken me seriously. And I knew I could just drive back to Scottsdale if they gave me an interview to prove to them that I was serious. And so I go for the interview. I have my car packed. I went all in. I was ready to get the job and just start living in Arizona again. And so that alone gave them the confidence in me. And yeah, working with Dean initially, it was a little bit intimidating because of who he was. But at that time, this was only Dean, Tanner, which was his nephew who does funnels, Ryan O'Donnell, who was doing Facebook ads, who's the one that we got hit with and bought the book from. And then you have Jeremy, who's the CEO, right-hand man. And then there was me. So that was really the marketing team. So it was a close-knit room of us right here. And they immediately welcomed me because of my hunger, my ambition, and my willingness to just do whatever it took. So I wasn't getting paid a lot initially, but they knew I was willing to learn and I would do whatever it takes. And so I knew I had to step up to the plate. And that was my commitment. I'm going to eat shit for the next however many months, year, not get paid enough that I think I deserve, but at the same time, I don't have many skills. I kind of have a little bit of sales background, a little bit of social media, but there's no real monetization yet. And so that's where I just said, I'm going to work to learn and figure it out. And eventually it was Facebook ads, then it was writing sales copy, then I was learning everything about direct response marketing, and then it was YouTube ads. And that was the golden ticket.
And then going into that, you mentioned you had about 5,000 in your bank account. Mm-hmm. That's dwindling down. You're going all in on an opportunity that you know is going to pay off in the long run, but at the same time, you're not getting paid a ton at the moment.
Yeah.
Like to start, obviously. I guess with that, and you also mentioned earlier the word opportunity vehicle, and you weren't in the right opportunity vehicle selling to poor, 14 to 16-year-olds. Did you have like an end goal in mind when you went all in there and saying like, okay, I'm going to learn this, I'm going to get a testimonial case study from one of the biggest names in the industry, and then start an agency? Or
yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So like on the interview with Dean too, they asked me like, imagine it was 1 year from now and it was your best year ever. What does that look like, right? And so for me, it was like my goal for the longest time, even when I was doing door-to-door sales, was, I make $100,000 a year. I make $100,000 a year. I make $100,000 a year, because at that time, that's what I thought was, I made it, right? Yeah. And that was my goal for the last 3 years. And so I told him, I was like, I make $100,000 a year, and I'm using what I've learned working for you to then eventually go and do it myself as well. And that's what was my intention from the very beginning. And so it wasn't as clear as like, I'm going to go build my own agency.
Yeah.
That wasn't even a thought yet. It was just, I'm going to learn all the skills I need to eventually do this myself. This meaning have my own personal brand and business that gives me the lifestyle that Dean has. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. And now that I think about it, it's kind of interesting, because it's like you helping other people. Because you kind of downplay in the beginning. You're like, I work with some big names. Basically, if you use social media and you're interested in businesses, you've seen his ads.
Yeah,
so he's worked with a lot of big names. But it's not even like your end goal is helping other people like Dean and other big names in the industry. It's like you want to be Dean, like you said earlier.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And so it was like, well, what are the steps to do that, right? Well, first I got to have a business. But like, how am I going to create a business if I don't know anything really that I can use as a skill that serves other people? So like, learning the skill of YouTube ads, like I didn't dream about being a YouTube ads expert. Like, don't get it twisted, right?
Yeah.
But it was the thing that I saw as the light bulb moment that went off when it was like, okay, this, Ryan's running Facebook ads and he's the rainmaker for the company right now. Keep in mind, this kid's 16 years old. I'm learning from a 16-year-old as a 22-year-old.
Yeah.
Like, that's kind of like humbling, right? He's a rainmaker. He's writing copy. He's running Facebook ads.
He's still in high school?
Dude, he was still in high school, had braces, hasn't like
Braces
was going to go to prom, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I'm like, dude, what?
Yeah, I'm out of office. I got prom.
Dean actually helped him rent a Corvette for his prom date, which was pretty sick. Yeah. So I'm learning from the 16-year-old direct response marketing, how to write copy, like what a funnel is, like all this stuff. And again, I'm seeing Ryan make money for the company, and Ryan being elevated as this guy in the company, like he's getting paid the money. And I'm like, okay, so how can I do that? And then it was like YouTube ads wasn't being anything yet. So I was like, I'm going to learn YouTube ads. And I learned YouTube ads. And then it took me a few months of trial and error. I got it to work. We paid for some coaching, got a coach. He came in, taught me how to scale. Shout out to Tommy Powers. And that's when we went from spending $5,000 a month trying to figure it out to spending $5,000 a day quickly in 30 days. And then now I was a god, right? I was like, oh, okay, like I've hit it. I'm going to obsess on it. I'm going to learn it. And then I started making more money because the company was making more money. Yeah. So I didn't go off and start my own business like I think most people try to. I instead worked to learn under someone who had a business, who saw me as someone who could learn and was teachable and coachable and learned the skill and was just obsessed on adding more value to it. Yeah, can you help me? Do you mind helping me with this? I don't know how to light this, by the way. I don't care if I look like a complete noob. Like, cigars aren't my main thing. But if you guys can get it lifted for me, that would be amazing.
Shout out to you for bringing cigars. That's a nice thing.
Oh, yeah, man, 100%.
That.
Yeah, I gave you guys some, I think it was Romeo and Juliet cigars, something. Yeah, so shout out to those. Yeah, 100%. Right, yeah, hell yeah. And then I'll light you.
There you go.
Thanks, bro.
Nice.
So, work to learn, YouTube ads. And so then what happened was I was working for Dean, and he kept saying, I owe all of my success to masterminds, getting in the right room with other people who have similar goals, trying to achieve the same thing. And so at that time, I'm like, okay, how can I add more value to the company? That's all my goal was. How can I add more value to the company so I can make more money in the company? Then I joined a mastermind, and at that mastermind, I introduced myself. Hey, my name is Brian Moncada. And I was also trying to start another thing on the side, which is a fitness business again. And then that's why I joined the mastermind, because it was a fitness business mastermind. I was like, hey, my name is Brian Moncada. I run ads for Dean Graziosi. If you've seen him on YouTube, that's me. But I'm trying to start this fitness business. basically recreate what I was doing again to the lower market.
Yeah.
And then Vince immediately, who's the business mentor, he looks at me in front of everybody. There's 100 people in the room as I'm on the microphone, and he's like, "Yeah, well, I'll tell you right now, dude, you got to cut the fitness stuff out." And I was like, "What?" He's like, "We'll talk at lunch. We'll talk at lunch." And then lunchtime comes around, and he's like, "Yeah, man. Well, like, what do you want to do?" And I was like, "Well, I came here to think about learning how to grow a fitness business, but like, I don't know. Now what you said at the start of the meeting, I'm questioning." And he's like, "Well, look, dude, you're stepping over dollar bills to chase pennies. You run ads for Dean Graziosi. All you should be doing is running YouTube ads. You're the YouTube ads guy. Get good at that, because what do you want to be doing? Selling how to build bigger muscles and biceps when you're 40?" Like, I was like, I guess I haven't thought about it like that, but like, he's like, "Plus, dude, you have a skill that people need. Like, this is a high ROI skill. Just get good at that." And so that was a little bit humbling to hear at the time. But then again, the light bulb movement goes off. And so I just go all in on again. And then people naturally start asking me if I can help them with their YouTube ads. And that's how I start building a business out of it. And eventually I'm making the same amount of money on the side as I'm making with Dean full time. I'm working less on the side. And it gets to a point where I just got to say, okay, what makes more sense? Go all in. And then I went all in.
That's dope. So the transition point for you is working with Dean as like a team member or an employee,
Yeah.
and then taking that skill set, that knowledge, that know-how, and experience in running your own business, getting your own clients for YouTube ads. And so I'm interested, like, on the same topic of working to learn and not to earn, what were some of like the big points of maybe leadership and just overall business management that you learned from Dean that you were able to take and implement in your own company and business?
Yeah, so I was there when we were like I said, 5 people on the marketing team, a couple customer service people, sales team was outsourced. And so I saw us go from a 15-person team to a 100-person company very quickly. And
That was Dean's company?
yeah, because that's when he partnered with Tony Robbins.
Oh, okay, with Mastermind.
When they launched Mastermind.com, which was one of the biggest internet launches in internet marketing history. And so we were a part of that, and I saw us go on a hiring spree. We also built, Dean also bought a new office, and we moved into that new office. And what I've learned specifically is like, dude, it's all, number one, Dean's the best at marketing, right? Like,
yeah.
He's one of the best in the game, probably the best still to this day. And I've learned everything from him from marketing. But to run a big business, like it's like what Cole Gordon's doing now. You got to have a fucking massive team who's all A players, and they're all focused on the culture and the mission. That's the biggest thing. So like, there was a lot of troubles a little bit initially about the culture and the vision of the business. And when you scale that quickly too, there's a lot of rough patches that happen with like you almost hire too many people, I feel like, that aren't producing as much.
Yeah.
And you're kind of betting on the next big thing, like the next big launch. And it's tough to do that when there's not a consistent, steady stream of new clients coming in from your evergreen campaigns as well. So it almost kind of taught me, okay, well, should you go from a 15-person company to a 100-person company like in a year?
Probably not.
You could, but it'll create a lot of like as big as you go up, right? It's going to be hard to kind of stabilize after a while.
Yeah.
So I think there's a little bit of a lot of people want to go fast nowadays, right? Like they see the money claims, they see the 0 to 40, the 0 to 100 in like 8 weeks or whatever the fuck, and it's like, bro, as soon as you go up that fast, the quicker you'll crash, because unless you become the person who can able to manage that and has experience with that,
It
shit,
falls
dude.
off.
Yeah, it's like what Jim Rohn says, right? If you happen to come in contact with $1 million, best you become a millionaire quickly, because that money will leave just as quick as it came.
Even quicker. One of the words you use, one of the things you pointed out that's super interesting to me is office, right? You said Dean bought a new office in that transition period as they started to hit that growth phase. And that's like kind of a topic that we're talking about internally here at our company, Client Ascension, as we continue to grow and get to that scale phase of like culture and team and leadership becomes super, super important. It's not all about marketing and ad spend anymore, right? And so what was that like working in an office environment? And I'm pretty sure, I think I heard you talk about this somewhere, that when you started your agency, you had an office space and you were one of the few guys in the space to do that.
Yeah. It's interesting, right? I feel like we all create a business or start doing something on our own to escape the office.
Yeah.
Like that's the goal. Get the fuck out of the office, work from wherever, make money online.
Well, that's because the typical office is like soul sucking.
Exactly, right? And so what happens is, and I've experienced this, and you guys are sound like experienced this as well, you then want to recreate the office for your business. So you almost build the business and then to get out of the office, but then you end up building another office for the business. But it's a better office though, because it's your culture, it's your team members, you get to construct it how you want and really optimize it for not to be soul sucking, right? Based off the team members you work with. And so when I first started our agency, it was everybody in-house, all in one crammed space like this, like with stand-up desks, 7 people. And it was honestly probably the most fun because you're all grinding in the trenches together day in and day out. You guys kind of have an office already. You guys are all in Tampa though, right? So
this is our office.
This is literally, this is literally your office, which is not a bad office. So would it help to have a central location kind of like this where everybody can come and they just work and grind? Yeah, I mean, the culture is going to grow. Like, that's why Elon Musk is ranting and raving online about get back in the office. Because, like, there's a reason for that, right? Yeah. Nobody else is, like, everybody else, if they're working from home, might be working on other shit too. So
I feel like the prerequisite to having that energetic environment is having a lean team. Because if you look at Elon Musk, like, it definitely wasn't, it wasn't like that.
You had to fire a bunch of people first.
Yeah, exactly. You had to fire a bunch of people to get everybody back and like, okay, everybody here now is a grinder. Like with you, the reason why it felt great that everybody was working so hard towards the same mission is because everybody was actually working so hard.
Yeah.
Right? Whereas like the traditional office or the way that we think about it is everybody's like in their own department, like accounting's over there, marketing's over there. They're shuffling around, you know, trying to see how many times and go to the water cooler to get coffee and pretend like they're working. So I think that goes back to what you're saying about if you do want to just like have a productive environment, productive culture, you need to be careful about growing too quickly and just like hiring for no reason at all. Because I think that's a lot of that's like people will work until they have to hire, but then they'll hire once and then they'll be like, oh, this is sick. Like somebody else is doing the work for me. And they'll just want to hire and hire and hire again, which just isn't productive.
I also think too, it's like you guys have a core leadership team for the business, right? So like as long as the core leadership team is together as well, which is a big thing. Like that's the problem that I'm facing right now, just to be transparent. I'm off in Miami. Nick's here with me as well. He's been my right-hand man. But then we have Charlie who handles fulfillment. He's in Arizona still. And so like the original plan was let's all go to Miami, right? This is the new thing. Charlie's very family oriented. His family's back in Arizona. He's an uncle now. His sister has kids. So there's a lot of ties back there. And so it's like, fuck. And I know there's no better productivity and culture for the company than when your core leadership team is in-house together in the same area. You just can't beat it. I've tried the remote, you know, other people say things. I talked to Cole Gordon about this too. And he's like, if my leadership team wasn't in Arizona, we could probably still make it work. But if we were just trying to grow, I don't know if we could do it. Now where we're at, we could do it. But before, I don't know. Wow. So it's interesting. So there's both sides, right?
I mean, it's one of the reasons we moved down to Tampa. Like, obviously, we love the city, and we probably had the best time here versus anywhere else that we visited. But that was a deciding factor in us choosing Tampa over another city like Miami.
Why Daniel moved back too?
Because Daniel was down here, right? So,
100%.
Yeah. I want to go back to the pivot from doing ads for Dean to kind of going off on your own. What was that transition like, and how much did you leverage the fact that you just did YouTube ads for Dean Graziosi?
That was honestly, I mean, that was the case study, dude. Like that was what everything started off of, which is like, it just proves you got to get one case study from a successful client that got great results, and then that can change everything for your life. Because Dean was my essentially case study, if you will, because he was. And then people started figuring out I was the guy that ran YouTube ads for Dean Graziosi, and then they started wanting me to do it for their business. So, you know, the pivot, it was hard to leave though, by the way. Like this was not an easy decision because, dude, I owe a lot of my success to Dean. He was my first mentor. He helped me go from broke door-to-door salesperson to learning this skill through his vehicle and really taking care of me. And so I owe a lot of my success to Dean. And then leaving him was tough, but I knew that my next level was doing it on my own. And so thankfully I had enough clients on the side. I had 3 clients on the side paying me the same amount. And I was like, I'm just going to go hard on this. Then I started branding myself, really advertising YouTube ads. You know, at the time, like I think I told this before, like I didn't really know, I didn't have AdMen.com. It was just me. I bought the domain like YouTube Ad Pros. Like it was kind of gay, you know, but like it made it work, right? And like I didn't even need any website. It was just me, you know. I was just posting content. Yeah. And then it got to a point where I was making, I started, by the way, I quit Dean 2 weeks later, COVID happens. The whole world shuts down. Everything goes into lockdown.
Sort of.
Yeah, everything goes into lockdown 2 weeks after I leave, and I say I'm out. So I'm like, fuck.
You just lost a stable job, right?
I just lost $100,000 a year coming in, right? I also just went all in on myself, and the whole world shut down. Are these guys going to leave me because they're not going to run ads anymore?
But that was like the perfect time to just lock in and do nothing.
And so
besides work.
it was like, I was looking at it, I was like, this could be the worst story ever, or I can make it the fucking best story ever. And I was like, okay, I started my business during COVID. If that doesn't show you that there's never going to be a right time to start a business, then I don't know what will.
Yeah.
So like I did it, locked in, went monk mode as everybody did. And it was actually the best, it was the fastest my business has ever grown because everybody wanted to spend money on ads because everyone's at home. And I had a good client I had a few good clients, but the best client I had was the Tap Brothers, and they were selling a bodyweight workout at home course. Perfect offer. Yeah. And so we ran that up to $100K a month in ads, and it was just going crazy. And I was also working with Ryan O'Donnell and Caleb Maddox at the time, their YTA webinar. We made $1 million in 3 months with that, and I got a percentage of that. So it was just like,
they were probably hyped. They had online school. They could focus way more time on the business.
Yeah, yeah. And then it got to a point where I was making about $30K a month by myself, and I just had a question. I was like, how long is this gonna last? Or like, what's the next goal? Pretty much, it was like, what's the end goal here? Yeah. Like, where's this gonna go? Do I want to keep doing this by myself and be like a high-paid marketing consultant making $30,000 a month forever? Like, no, I kind of want to go bigger. And so that's why I was like, okay, to go bigger, you gotta have to have a team. To hire a team, you have to, make less profit, but you get more off your plate, so you can focus on other things. So then I started thinking about that, and that's when I had the idea for adspend.com, and I bought the domain, got the brand, started doing all that, and then I started building it into an actual legitimate agency.
Isn't that funny? Like, it's the same guy that right out of college, getting a job at Pepsi for $60K, thought he had it all. And then now jump like 2 years later, making $30K a month, and this isn't it.
Fuck, right? Why? That's so crazy, dude. Yeah, you think you made it, but then when you get there, you just... Same thing that happened when we hit 7 figures. I got the 2 Comma Club, took the picture, right, posted it, and that was my goal for the longest time. Make a 7-figure business, right? Live by the beach, all this stuff, and then it's like, I thought I'd be happy by now.
Yeah.
But then you realize it's not about it's not about the destination. It's really just about the journey.
What about the watch?
Yeah.
Did the watch?
Yeah, dude.
Oh.
I keep looking at the
If
watch.
I was down with
like,
that every morning, I'd be like, yep.
Oh yeah. I never not get hard when I put this thing on every morning. Yeah. I mean, I always look down. If life's ever bad, I just look down at my wrist and I'm like, okay, well.
Yeah, we're good.
I'm doing something right. Yeah. So yeah.
It's like putting on the Infinity Glove like Thanos. Just like, got all the power now. It's a confidence thing. I just find it funny because we talk to a lot of people, and like a lot of the come up stories were during COVID. And I just remember seeing like on all the motivation and success pages on Instagram, everyone's like, during COVID, like the best companies were always started in hard times and recessions. I'm like, this is bullshit. Like, what are we talking about? And then like 3 years later, we're all talking about how we got our start during COVID. So I think that's super interesting. One question I have, a little maybe deeper on the topic, is like, one thing I noticed about you, and a lot of people validate this when I talk about it, is you're very, very good on camera. And I think that's also a strength that Dean Graziosi has, coming from like he ran like the TV infomercial days, like that. So talk about, I guess, how you got good on camera. Is that something that came naturally, or is it a skill you developed over time?
It was definitely reps over time, and it started in college when I would just document my life during my senior year on YouTube. I would vlog my fitness workouts, my day-to-day, and they're not available anymore because I unlisted them, because it's not really the audience I still want to attract. But if I unlisted them and made them public again, you could see that there was, close to 40, 50 videos of just, but those are 40, 50 videos that were published. There's also hundreds of videos I never published because I just was so insecure. I didn't think they turned out well. So I really put the 10,000 hours in on public speaking, of just talking to the camera. And that's how I got my start and really just able to speak confidently, was just talking to a camera as if I was talking to somebody else. So I put the reps in for sure. It didn't happen overnight. And I started that when I was 18. And I'm 28 now, so that's 10 years. Wow. And then also, talking to my team, right? Talking to clients on sales calls, doing sales calls, cold calling, door-to-door sales. All of those skills contributed to being good on camera today. So it's one of the highest ROI skills anybody can have today, is being able to speak to a camera confidently and deliver a message, because now you're someone who's just respected and people look up to you, and you can also help people more that way.
What about speaking on stage, dude? Because you came to Client Ascension event, you crushed it. You spoke on stage in which Mastermind was it recently? Cole Gordon's?
Cole Gordon's, yeah.
In front of how many people? A couple hundred?
Yeah, a couple hundred. And then I
smashed it. Like, how do you... For me, like, if I got on stage in front of a few hundred people that are all really good at what they do, really smart, I'd be like, dude, I'm fucking scared as shit. Like, how do you get up there and you just crush it and not feel nervous?
Dude, honestly, it's kind of like going into the cold plunge, bro. Like, you know it's going to fucking be cold, and you know it's going to be uncomfortable, but you just fucking do it anyways, and then you always feel good afterwards. Like, I think if you try to make it perfect, it's also going to suck. I don't try to make it perfect. Like, I prepare a lot beforehand. For the Client Ascension event, when the moment you said you wanted me to speak, I was like, okay. And that's why I kept asking you guys, like, okay, what is everybody else talking about? What do you guys want me to talk about? Who's the audience? I really had to survey what everybody was wanting to learn and what the target demographic was. So I let that marinate on my subconscious mind for like 2 weeks before I even started writing any slides or doing anything. It's like, okay, here's the audience. Here's where they're at. What do they want? And like, how can I give them the most value possible? And so then when I did 2 weeks of just thinking, I was like, okay, I have the idea. And then I just started preparing. So I took a whole another basically week and a half just to do the slides. And then I'm editing the slides every single day. And then by the time I'm actually at Client Ascension and I'm about to go on stage, I've already spent about a month preparing for this presentation. And so, and then when I'm there and I'm seeing the energy and I'm like, oh, I'm just getting hyped up. Like, I looked at my wife. I looked at my wife. It might have been on the vlog. I looked at my wife and I was just like, I'm gonna fucking crush this. And she's like, you're gonna fucking crush this. And so immediately I just had that confidence and I went on stage and I think I did pretty well. And it was prepared ahead of time. And honestly, there isn't a better room. That was the best room I've crushed because it was exactly who I was before. I went through where everybody in that room was. So I knew what they were going through. And I knew, like, you guys already gave them all the tactical. Now I'm just going to show them the light at the end of the tunnel.
Yep.
And what's possible if they just do one thing. And what that one thing was get out, go into masterminds, land whale clients, and here's how you can make a fuck ton more money. Because that's exactly what I did.
It's crazy because in the community still to this day, like, we have all the recordings of the speeches at our event, and people still reference like, oh yeah, Brian was talking about this. Like, anytime like they're talking to Daniel about their offer, they always reference back to like your presentation of why they're choosing to go more high ticket and less clients instead of more clients, that kind of ordeal. So it definitely had an impact, and like all that preparation had massive payoffs.
You know, it's also to the, how do you get good at public speaking too? I've also been blessed to be able to see a bunch of great public speakers. Dean, obviously, being one of the best, right? Like, for 3 years, I worked for him. So I would be with him when he's filming ads. So, like, that was just years of experience condensed. And then also, like, one of the best public speakers I've ever heard, you know, controversial or not, fucking Dan Locke. Dan Locke can rip on stage. And he was one of the best public speakers I've ever seen. And it's also, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but, like, when you're on stage, there's two types of speakers, and I used to be this first type of speaker. It was the very tactical, I'm just going to read all the lines on the slide, you know, just read the slide, not engage with the audience, and that's not really that memorable. So my goal for Client Ascension was, I'm going to make this the most memorable presentation by actually engaging the audience and really relating to them. Because if you're just the guy reading from the slides on stage, it's just robotic, and sure, it might be good information, but what I've learned is the people that crush on stage, they engage the audience. They also like tell stories really well.
That's it.
Really well.
Jesse Itzler at VCon, I think I cried. Like, he told the story about how he played.
He's my
like,
favorite public
speaker. Oh
speaker.
shit!
Yeah.
I've never heard him.
I've seen him at 10X, and I've seen him at VCon.
Jesse Itzler, wow.
By far
what was
the
the
best
story he
public
said with his
speaker.
dad? Like, he played chess with him or something?
Oh yeah, one last time before he passed away. That was super sad. But dude, yeah, you got to listen to his story. Just look up like Jesse Itzler keynote.
Wow.
He's got a bunch of them, but he's got a super interesting start.
Yeah,
it was cool. We saw him at VCon. I got a picture with him. You know, got to talk to him for like.
Yeah, I think he said like, I finally beat my dad at
Yeah.
chess, and it's because he has like dementia or something. It was like,
like,
but he engaged the audience the whole time.
Yeah.
He like,
his delivery is unbelievable.
yeah, he's like, how do I feel? Outstanding. Like, everyone's like, hyped up.
Unbelievable.
Yeah,
delivery.
it's the energy, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, if you don't engage the audience, I mean, they're just not gonna feel like you're even relating to them. That's why I was like, does that make sense?
Yeah,
you
you
guys
did a
even
great
care about
job
this
with
shit?
this.
Like, And then everyone's like, yeah. It's like, okay, because I don't like, whatever. If you guys don't care about this, fuck it then. Like, what am I doing here? So it's like, because like, dude, it's all about the experience, and I wanted to create a good experience for the crowd and for you guys because it was your guys' mastermind. I'm like, fuck, I got to deliver so much value here. How can I deliver so much value? Just engage them and make them feel like they want to keep experiencing this again.
Let's go through. Go ahead.
And it's like a confidence thing too. Like one of the recurring themes on this podcast and when speaking to client ascension students, or really just anyone coming up with an offer and what to speak about, is like speak to the past version of yourself because you know exactly the feeling that they have, the motivations they have, the goals they have, and so there's no better person to speak to them. Like the best mentors are people that are where you want to be.
Exactly.
And they're where you are currently. So I think that gives a lot of confidence. Christian, do you have a question?
I was just going to say, go into what you went over on the actual client ascension presentation, because it was like landing well clients, getting referred to like Frank Kern and those guys. Walk me through that whole process. Like you start your agency and then you end up working with all these titans in the industry. Like what was that process like?
Yeah, so I leave Dean. I have my own clients on the side now, and then I'm working Frank Kern for months. Because my friend Ryan O'Donnell, who I worked with at Dean, who's still a friend of mine to this day, he was very close with Frank Kern. Frank Kern actually mentored Ryan. And he told Ryan to write a sales letter for a day for 365 days, and that's what he did. Wow. That's how he landed the job for Dean. So he just became a beast copywriter. Not because he wanted to be a copywriter, but because Frank Kern told him, if you learn copy, you'll make a fuck ton of money. And so that's what he did. And so Frank was close with Ryan. I knew I wanted to run ads for Frank Kern because he's an OG, he's a legend in the game, and he's a beast. And so I was like, okay, so I'm working Frank Kern for months, and I'm using Ryan to help me get in. And so Ryan introduced me to Frank, and I keep following up with Frank, and I'm just like, Frank, what's up, man? Sending you another video again, like personalized video. Like, would love to run your ads. Here's the campaigns I'm going to do. Here's the targeting. I see you're running this funnel. Like, this can work on YouTube. I just need you to film a few videos. So I'm doing that for like 6 months. And then finally he's like, all right, man, here. Introduce you to Roland Frazier. And he introduced me to Roland Frazier, who's the co-founder of Digital Marketer. And so that was the next avalanche. And so that's why, going back to what you said, talk about that. That's how it started, right? It's a story of how I grew the agency. I got Frank Kern to refer me to Roland Frazier. So Roland Frazier hires me. Crush it for Roland Frazier. He's well connected. Roland Frazier, after I crush it for him, then Frank Kern lets me run ads for him. Crush it for Frank Kern. He gives me like 8 referrals immediately in my inbox. Roland Frazier is giving me 12 referrals, and then like clockwork, bro, all the big names start coming because I did Frank, I did Roland Frazier, and then we land Bedros Keuilian, and then we land. But it's all because of you land one whale client, they introduce in more whale clients, but then I'm also showing my face at the masterminds too. So now I'm the YouTube ads expert at these masterminds where all these big guys are hanging out. So there's really no other choice, right? I'm running the ads for all of them. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it makes a lot of sense. But now you don't let new people in, right? Like you only work with a handful of clients.
We're very picky about who we work with. Handful of clients, and they got to be someone we actually want to work with.
So who is there a person that could come to you and you would let them right through and start working with them right away? Or are you really strict with not taking on new clients?
We're very strict because when we weren't strict, we weren't making much money. And the more strict we got, the more money we made because we were actually clear on who we could help the most and what we could do the best. And so now it's very specific. Our ideal client avatar, they're making a minimum of $100K a month, right? They have a high ticket coaching program, course, and mastermind, or one of those three, and they want to scale, right? They're already running ads on Facebook, but they're not tapped into YouTube, right? But they want more leads. How do they get more leads? They come work with AdMen.
Sounds like
dude, I have so many like questions and ways I can take this, but I guess
I was like, you just described us.
Well, yeah, like
it's only a matter of time, boys. I mean, we'll make some money.
One of the things I want to reiterate and point out for the audience is, like of course you're getting these introductions, you're going to the masterminds, but the most important thing that you've done in each of these stories is you crushed it in the service delivery.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
I got results.
You got results.
Yeah. That's all I focused on.
Without that, it's nothing.
When I got Frank Kern to say yes, I didn't focus on anything else besides getting Frank Kern results. Right? That's all I did. And here's the thing that I did really well. This is, this is not even secret sauce, but this is the same thing that is hard for even my team to understand as well, because I think this comes back from like the insecurity as well. It's like, dude, I have this, I don't know if it's not warrior mentality, but I have this maybe warrior mentality that like, dude, this isn't for sure. Nothing's guaranteed. This can go away at any moment. So how can I hedge that risk? if I do everything I can every single day and communicate with these clients, because I'm in the service-based business, right? I'm serving clients. How do you become one of the best service-based providers? You serve clients in all aspects. And so what I did really well when I was working with these big name guys, number one, I had the awareness to know that, okay, these guys can work with anybody, but why should they work with me? Well, because I'm going to be the best team member they could ever hire. So what does that mean? I'm going to go above and beyond even what I'm supposed to be doing. I'm going to text them at random hours when I'm thinking about them, about ideas I have to help us grow the campaigns even more. So I'm constantly texting them about ideas. We should do this. We should do that. And they're loving it because they're like, holy fuck, yeah, like this is great. Like this guy's sick. And I'm just over communicating. I'm making sure that there's no dead space between communication. I'm always communicating. I'm playing offense first, not defense. I'm always going out to them before they can come to me. And so I'm just constantly over communicating and doing my best to over deliver. Even if I don't have everything figured out, by the way, it wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It didn't always work, but I would let them know, like, this isn't working, but here's the ideas I have to make it work better. This goes back to when I was working for Dean. There would be days when the campaigns were just shitting the bed and I didn't know what was going on, but I could sit there and just kind of complain about it. Or I was like, I'm going to sell this on how we're going to turn this better. And I was like, Dean, you know what? The campaigns aren't working really well right now, but here's 5 tests I'm going to do in the next week to get this thing back on track. Boom, 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 boom. If this doesn't work, then this one's going to work. If this one doesn't work, it's just a matter of time. And then I would just go do that, and then I would make it work. And that's the exact same replica that I did to adspend.com with Frank and all these other clients.
So something I want to go into is somebody comes to you, they know you can smash it for them on YouTube ads, but I feel like the biggest thing for a service provider is to underpromise and overdeliver. So how do you tamper expectations when someone comes to you, knowing you're the expert, knowing you can crush it for them, and how do you still manage to underpromise and then deliver more than what you initially promised them?
Yeah, so the way I sell is very consultative, but it's also like ethical in a way where like I'm not promising the fucking moon tomorrow. I'm like, look, okay, you're at 100K a month right now. You're running Facebook ads, right? And you want to go into YouTube and diversify your traffic sources. Great. Okay. This is a 3-month minimum thing we're going to do here, right? The first month when we launch, the first month is all just building, creating the ads, setting up the campaigns, and launching, okay? Getting the foundation set from the very beginning. Because what most people do is they try to rush tomorrow. They film a few shitty ads, and there's no congruence between the ads to the landing page to the offer. They're trying to target too many different avatars at once, and they're talking to nobody, and their campaigns don't work as well as somebody who gets very specific. So we take a 3-week process to just dial in the creatives. That's the bread and butter. Our creative process is the best in the industry. We do that first. We launch. The second month is testing, okay? The goal is to break even. That's the goal. If we do more than that, great. But I'm promising, especially because this offer isn't proven necessarily yet at scale, we're going to break even, right? Then by the 3rd month, we're profitable, and then we're scaling. That's if you follow that process like we show you and we set those expectations from the very beginning, it always works, right? But when it doesn't work is if a client tries to rush that process and they try to cut corners, they don't try to do what we tell them, and it doesn't work because they want to go faster and they don't follow the process. They don't want to use our creatives, and it never works. And so, yeah, or if they're a bad fit from the very beginning, which I've learned as well, and which is why I'm very picky about who I work with, because I know the type of client I can help. Not everybody's that type of client. So a lot of people, I think beginners especially, they're afraid to niche down. Why? Because they're afraid of serving only one type of client, and that's going to limit the money they can make in their head, right? But it's actually better because then you can master that one type of client, their problems, their pain points, their frustrations, just like you guys teach your clients, right? It's the same thing. So, yeah.
And that's what you do really well. And I feel like that's almost baked into the under promise over deliver is the fact that you charge percentage of net profit. Right?
Well, we have guarantees too, right? So again, it even makes it more picky about who we work with because we're guaranteeing everything. Yeah. We guarantee if you don't make back the ad spend that you put up as a client, because you have to spend the money on the ads, plus our fee, right? If you don't make back that, then we give you back the fee. So it takes the risk off the table a little bit right there. But then there's also the 10% of net profit, which is also guaranteed, meaning that if we don't make you back a minimum of 100K in net profit in that calendar month, we don't take any commission. You already paid us 10K. We want to deliver 10 times more value, which means we should get paid more. So 10K that you pay us, you make 100K net profit. Okay, great. You paid us 10K. That's worth it. To get paid more than 10K, we got to make you more than 100K in net profit. So that's how it works. And if we don't make you more than 100K in net profit, we don't get paid commission. So we're focused on scaling, baby. So that's the only way we get paid the 10% commission.
Dude, that's so dope. One of the things, another conversation that we're having at Client Ascension, this is, again, more niche, more like strategy focus, is multiple products, multiple offers, right? Like, what would you advise to someone based on the clients you've worked with and the offer stacks that they have to branch out of a core product? Because you've recently done this, right? You have the agency, which is adspend.com, and then now you have AdMen, which is
the Mastermind,
right?
And
so talk about that.
And I feel like everybody who came up through that COVID class followed the Hermosi model, which is smart, of like you get to 1 million by having one offer for one person. But then I guess like, what are you supposed to do after that?
Well, it's like, have you guys read the book Ready, Fire, Aim?
No, dude, you recommended it the first time we had dinner in Miami.
The answers are in that book, dude.
You recommended that book and
it's
these
the Bible.
glasses. I just took the glasses.
It's literally the hey, yeah. Those glasses
I
are
made
sick.
the wrong choice.
That's hilarious, dude. Yeah, you're like, your glasses are sick, bro. I was like, dude, and we vibed off that because it was Warby Parker. Dude, so 0 to 1 million, it's the blueprint, right? 0 to 1 million's one offer, one type of avatar, one sales process, right? That's literally the blueprint. You have to do that, which is why it's important to niche down. To get from 1 to 10, from what I've learned from the guys that are at that and that I've actually worked with, they then start introducing another offer. So for us, it was a done with you, right? Because there's a whole bigger market that can't afford done for you, and they're not an ideal fit for our agency. They just won't get results. Their business isn't ready yet. They're not ready to scale. So we're just going to teach them how to do it. So we taught them in a coaching program how to run their own ads, how to get results just like we would. We just won't have to do it for them. So you can introduce a new offer from 1 to 10. You probably need about 2 or 3 to get to 10. But really, I mean, like, look at Cole, right? He has 3 offers. He basically has, he has 3 offers.
Do you think that entails going B2B and B2C, kind of like Cole, where he does the Setter Academy, the Closing Academy, and then the other side where he places people?
It just depends how big you want to go. Yeah, you're probably going to have to do all 3. Yeah, eventually. It's just at certain stages, right? And, it's also why, like, Sam Ovens had 3 products too, like Accelerator for beginners. Then he had Up Level, which was how to package it up into a course. Then he had the Mastermind. So 3 products right there. And that's how we got to 36 million. So you need more offers if you want to make more money.
Yeah, it just makes sense naturally. I guess one of the questions about like AdMen that's based on the show Mad Men.
Mad Men, yeah.
So how just like a fan question, like, how has that show impacted you as a business owner and how you show up in your company?
I was a sophomore in college. I was a freshman in college at Arizona State University. So my degree, by the way, was like total bullshit, dude. It was like digital communications with an emphasis in music. You guys know I was, B Money in high school, making my own music, and I was have my own like studio in my closet. Like, it's fucking crazy, dude. Recording my friends and making MySpace music. Anyway, so I was like, if I'm gonna go to college, and again, I'm just programmed college, job. And then my mom is like, if you're gonna go to college, go to university. So I'm gonna go to university. If you're gonna go to college, go for something you want to do. So I'm like, I like music, okay. Dude, halfway through my first semester, I'm like, I'm not going to be able to get a job with this college degree. It's like bullshit. Like, there's just no way I'm going to be able to get a job with this. And so I knew at that point I had to learn sales and everything. So then anyways, dude, I'm in this class one day and the teacher's presenting about some stuff and I'm just totally zoned out. And then I see an article about the new TV show called Mad Men, how it's sweeping the nation. And I'm like, this looks kind of sick. He's in a suit about advertising. All right. I watched the first episode in class while the teacher's in the front of the room and I'm listening. I'm watching the first episode on like my headphones. And I remember Don Draper in Manhattan in the advertising agency office goes into his office during a meeting with Roger Sterling. He opens his desk dresser drawer, pulls out a stack of 5 neatly pressed and folded button-down collared shirts, and he just changes out in the middle of a meeting, and he just puts on a new fresh collared shirt before another meeting. And I'm like, and he's drinking whiskey, and I'm like, what the fuck does this guy do? Like, I want to do what this guy does, and so I wanted to be Don Draper, and so that was what sparked it. And so funny enough, it's like I say I've never wanted to have my own agency, but that's what planted the seed back then. I was like, if I could do that, that would be pretty fun. So how can I do that? And then I knew I had to learn marketing and sales, and so it all kind of manifested itself in a way.
That's so dope. Yeah.
And so AdMen was a spinoff. The original name I wanted to have for our agency was AdMen, admen.com. Like, you want to advertise and scale, you need an admin, right? You need someone to help you run the ads. But that was already an advertising agency in New York. They already had that. So I was like, and then eventually the word ad spend came to my subconscious, and then I was like, I wonder if that's a website. And I knew it was available, and I saw it, and I took it, and then I ran with it.
How much that cost?
They originally quoted me for $25,000. This is when I was still working for Dean. I didn't have that kind of money just to throw off on because I also wasn't all in either. So like I was like, I don't know. So I went with the YouTube Ad Pros, and then eventually COVID happened, obviously, and I was like, I got to get more serious about this. I want to build this brand. And then I reached back out to them with a different email, and I said, hey, I'm interested in buying this. And they're like, yeah, $15,000. I was like, oh, okay, $10,000 off. I was like, they're willing to negotiate now. And so then I kept emailing the guy, the middle party, back and forth. 28 thread email later, and I eventually negotiated it down to $5,000.
Nice.
And he gave me a checkout link. He goes, this expires in 24 hours, bro. I don't know why I'm doing this, but here you go. And then I bought it. So $5,000.
That's awesome.
That's sweet. So something I always think about is like, you're really specialized in YouTube ads. You've done it. That's been your bread and butter for years. Like, do you think there becomes a point with a really specialized skill like YouTube ads, cold email copy, where, you know, when you're first starting, you're learning from people, you're reading blogs, you're watching YouTube videos, you're learning from pros. Like, do you think there becomes a point where you're so specialized in it that it's hard to learn something from somebody that's a more advanced thing than you already know, if you know what I'm trying to say?
Yeah, that's a good question.
Like, where do you learn other than experience? Like, there's no one you can go to that's more specialized than you at this, I mean, I would assume. So, like, where do you go to learn?
Dude, I still learn every day, dude. It's crazy because like I used to have an ego where it's like I don't want to learn from I don't even want to collaborate with anybody because they're also my competitors. Like I had this like limiting belief about competition, but it's honestly now more about collaboration for me. So like, dude, like I still pay tribute to Tom Breeze, who was, you know, one of the first persons I learned YouTube ads from, to Tommy Powers as well. Like these are all guys that I used to view as competition, but like really they've helped me out, and I still learn from them to this day. Because like there's somebody out there that I can learn a new way of media buying or structuring or creative that I can pick up and implement just one little piece of that to our clients. So and also in the masterminds, dude, like I talk to a bunch of business owners. I'm constantly surrounded by my target demographic and my market and the problems they're suffering from. And so I always use that as like market feedback about how we can improve our agency and our service. So masterminds are a big benefit for me to learn and continue learning, because then, guess what? It's not like all mastermind, like Cole Gordon's mastermind is not about scaling with YouTube ads. It's about sales team and operations. But I can use what I'm learning from that mastermind and help my clients in a different capacity with their business more than just YouTube ads, which make us more valuable. Because now we're not just running YouTube ads for them. We're running YouTube ads, but I'm also bringing the knowledge I take back from these masterminds and giving them a concrete version of what they can do immediately in their business to help them.
Yeah. I like what you said about like the limiting belief too, because a lot of people come to us and they're like, oh, there's so many other agencies doing what I'm doing. And it's like, we do cold email for a living and we teach a ton of people how to do cold email. So it's like, we're inventing our own competition in a way, and it's like it all comes down to that limiting belief. Like there's just enough opportunity out there for everybody to succeed. So it's like now you're doing the AdMen Mastermind. You're teaching people how to do what you do. How do you go about that without the thought of like, oh, I'm inventing competition and stuff like that? I
mean, I'd be lying if I said it still doesn't creep up into my head to this day, right? And be like, oh, like, yeah, I'm actually just giving everything away for free, and they're now competitors of mine. But I think about it, it's like, are they really though? Like, no. Because I'm me, I'm my own person, I speak my own way, I have my own beliefs, I have my own brand. Nobody can replicate that sauce. No one can be me and what I've done. And there can be other versions of that. And that's why I think that's the beauty of it too. Everybody has their own unique selling proposition, their own unique mechanism, their own style, their own brand. And that's why there's so much room for everybody, I think, too. And it's like, also, that's the evolution. What I found in this industry, it always goes from learning the skill, doing the skill, done for you, then teaching the skill, then teaching the skill, and then honestly teaching the skill to the beginners, and then going just straight personal development, bro.
Yeah.
Like then you're on stage like Gary Vee and Tony Robbins, and you're just personal development selling like habits and routines and shit.
And I don't know if you found this too, but like teaching the skill actually helps you to improve the skill set for yourself.
I became a better teacher because I became a better marketer and advertiser because I had to learn, well, why do I do this way? Why? Because it's all just habit at a certain, like for you, cold email, right? It's like, why do I do quick question? Why do I send that as a subject line? And then you have to think about, how do you explain that to someone who's wondering, why the fuck do I keep sending quick question?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, for us right now, I'm filming like a couple videos on teaching cold email to a very, very, very beginner, someone that doesn't even know what the terminology means. Like I have to introduce what a cold email is, and I'm like, how do I explain this in layman's terms? Like, it's just so deeply ingrained in my head. I'm like, it's just natural to me. But to someone else, it's completely foreign. So I actually am struggling with that right now. Like, how do I explain this to a 5th grader?
Well, dude, it's like, and on going back on the competition thing, like it's different because the problems that you don't think are like people. It's interesting when you teach beginners or people that aren't really as established, they question everything, dude, and they don't take much action either, right? And so, like, I remember I had one guy, I was like, dude, you got to specialize, bro. You're doing too much shit. You're generalizing, and generalists don't get paid. You got to specialize. It's exactly what everybody teaches to get from 0 to 1, like we've been talking about.
That's what you were taught
yes.
at that event.
And it works. And that's why people talk about it. And so this guy was like, what if I niche down? I'm like, you got to specialize and like be the YouTube ads guy for like, for example, someone was like, if I just do high ticket fitness coaches, then I'm running ads for a bunch of high ticket fitness coaches. When I create my own competition, they compete. I'm like, that's not even a fucking problem right now, dude. Like, so why are you even making that a problem?
Yeah.
You're not making any money. Like, you don't have any clients. Yeah. So like, what's the alternative? Staying where you are or figuring that out when you get there? Like, specialize. That's the only thing you have to do right now.
What's that thing Daniel says in the program? It's like, you're just inventing this shit. You don't know if it's going to work.
Yeah. Like, when you're in a coaching program, what we've found is like the students that have success the fastest are the ones that implement the fastest. They don't question why we're telling them to do certain things. They just do it and are able to experience the results on their own. The guys that are like, oh, I don't know if this is going to work. It's all limiting beliefs. It's all it really comes back to. So that kind of ties into my next question about, I feel like you're known as the mastermind guy. And what I mean by that is, out of all the people in our space, like the money Twitter space, I feel like you've done the best job of investing like a lot of money to be around the best in the industry. Yeah. And so it's a big investment, right? Like Cole Gordon's Mastermind is like $68,000. Yeah. Which is no joke. That was more than you were making at Pepsi when you first started. Yeah. So what was that first mastermind?
That's crazy,
You're right.
Yeah, fuck, just thinking about that. Wow. Yeah.
What was that first like big investment that you made to break that limiting belief of like, it's worth it?
It was honestly the first mastermind I ever invested into, which was 24 grand. And that was when I was still working for Dean Graziosi full time, and where Vince told me, cut the fitness shit out, go all on YouTube ads, be the YouTube ads guy, because I saw the opportunity there. He was like, look, if you do this, it'll just work. And again, I listened to him. And so I paid him. And sure enough, I got my first 2 clients that same month after investing. I was, not making that much money back then, but I was making like, an extra 2 grand. Clients pay me an extra 2 grand a month. I was like, oh yeah, this is sick. And so that was the biggest investment. And it was also a big hurdle mentally because I'm like, I'm not making much money, but I'm just going to take the risk and I'm going to go all in. And that's what I did. I invested even though I wasn't making enough money for the future payoff. And sure enough, it worked out. And so I just kept repeating that. All I did was I kept repeating that. So like, it didn't just become 68 grand at Cole Gordon right away. It was, okay, that was the first investment. Now I got to invest in another coach. And then like, dude, I invested $156,000 plus within a matter of like 2 years just on coaching courses and masterminds, because it just kept, what's the alternative? I'm going to either win or I'm going to learn. Maybe it's learn what not to do, right? But at least I learned something. So I just kept repeating that cycle. If I join a mastermind, I get introduced to a bunch of people. The more people that know me, they want to fuck, like they want to run ads with me. They want to fuck with me. Like they actually like me. They want me to do business with them. So it's like, that works. Let me just keep doing what works and not what doesn't. So that was the masterminds.
And so you might want to ask that real quick too, just so you don't. I don't want you to get out on your pants or anything. So I guess the alternative to that, because that's not always the natural thought for entrepreneurs, is reinvest, right? Because $24K, you could have bought your first Rolex back then with that money instead of putting it back into the business. Yeah. So I guess how do you balance material things like a watch with also reinvesting in the business? Because at some extent, you could just say put it all back into the business until forever. Yeah. Which I don't know.
Yeah, I guess it depends on what you value. Like I was talking with Sebastian and John about this yesterday. Like I don't. For me, I just personally have never valued like cars for whatever reason. I'm not a big car guy, right? Some people are. I respect cars, but it's not like my thing. Like I had this on my phone screen for 2 years when I was grinding building adspend.com, and because it was inspired. Like on my phone screen. Yeah, dude, exactly, bro. Every single day you look at that, right? So you're researching it too. You're talking to dealers.
That was a picture of Margot Robbie for the audience, just so you know.
I was watching.
So your subconscious is already working. It just hasn't it's just a matter of time before you have it on your wrist. Just like when this happened. You know what the crazy part about this watch was, and I'll get into the material things too. Like I'm not very much of a materialistic guy, I guess. But I had this as inspiration because it was an advertisement from back in the day in the 50s when they were advertising the presidential watch. It directly correlated with what I was doing. And it was funny because I promised myself when I hit 7 figures, I'm going to get this fucking Rolex. And it was November of 2021. And we were about 800 grand, 864 grand or something. And we were not going to hit our goal if I didn't like acquire like 3 or 4 new clients additionally to what we were making MRR. And then November, dude, I'm in Colombia with my wife and I'm visiting out of the country, and I just have sales call after sales call after sales call. Bro, we hit our biggest, I had made 100 grand new cash in the first week of November. And that was when we were going to do officially 7 figures. And then, you know, funny enough, one of the clients I signed to that week was a luxury watch dealer. Anthony Ferreira, the Timepiece Gentleman. He became a client of ours, and he sold luxury watches. He was selling Richard Millie's, everything, and it was legit. And he was a client of ours. And I was like, how? I mean, it just makes sense, right? I had this on my phone screen. I told myself when I hit this goal, it's going to happen. All of a sudden, I have a client now who has the connect to get me a luxury watch. Because I didn't know you can't just buy a Rolex. I don't know about you guys. Did you guys know that? You can't just buy a Rolex.
Walk into the store.
I tried that. And they didn't treat me like I was a human being. They treated me like shit, dude. Like, I walk in with a fucking fossil. And like, they look at it, they immediately, I looked at the sales lady, the rep or whatever, and she looks at my watch, and then she's like, no, it's a waiting list. You know, there's no supply, like making all these different things. And I'm like,
Next guy walks up with a Rolex. She's like, right over here.
They take him right to the back. Dude. They have watches laid out for him. I'm like, fuck. So I'm like, why? And then sure enough, I start learning about it, right? How do you actually get a watch? And then I find out about, people that sell on the second market, and they're legitimate watches. He gets them from authorized dealers. It's just a different way of doing it. And so it was just like, boom, there it is. There's my chance. And I asked him, I was like, yo, man, I'm looking at this watch. Can you help me get it? He goes, yeah, it's literally what I do. And then I never tried it on. Thankfully, I went to another Rolex store, and they actually took me a little bit more seriously. I tried it on, and I was like, this is the one. And then a week later, I bought it from him, sent him the wire, which is another story in itself. There was many nights where I was just couldn't sleep. I was like, should I drop this amount of money on the watch?
Yeah.
50 grand. Like, it's like, fuck, And so then it's funny. I was talking to my wife, Jennifer, and she was like, it's money. Like, you want the watch, get the watch. We'll make more money. And I was like, yeah, you're right. Why am I doubting myself? It's worked all my life. Why am I going to let this thing cripple me now? And I didn't. I bought it. Made a video out of it. He delivered to me personally, and now I have it. Yeah. So going back to material things, though, like, this was an accomplishment and a win and a celebration for me in the business.
It's like a trophy.
Trophy, exactly. Other than that, dude, the main investment I have is just in my health and fitness, really. I spend about $150 every single month on getting Mountain Valley spring water delivered to my house in glass bottles, because you got to drink out of glass, just like I'm doing right now. Trust me, boys. Like, I've learned so much about. That's how I got my start, health and fitness, dude. So glass quality water, because if you have plastic, unfortunately, what I learned is the warehouses that ship that, they're just sitting in a warehouse all day long where the sun, especially in Florida, that plastic seeps into the water. You're consuming that water. It lowers your testosterone, all this other shit. So health and fitness, glass bottle water delivered. I have fucking bunch of plants in our place. I have a trainer that I go to 3 times a week to help me with my body, my posture, my function that we were talking about over Instagram, right? It's because I have a lot of muscle imbalances. And then I pay $200 for my gym because it has a sauna, cold plunge, and that's what makes me feel good. If I'm not feeling good health-wise, I'm not going to perform well. So I invest a lot of money every single month into my health. Quality organic ingredients, all pasture-raised eggs, grass-fed beef, wild-caught fish, white rice, ghee butter. Like, we spend close to $1,000 on just our food every single month alone as well. And my wife cooks everything, thankfully, because I have her. She's a beast, and so she takes care of me a lot. But like, dude, besides like that's my material possession, if that makes sense. So maybe not like cars and stuff, but like my ideal day is like, dude, I wake up, I hit the sauna, I hit the cold plunge, I go to the beach, and yeah, that's my material investment, if that makes sense.
Outside of that, is there any other investment vehicles that you're super interested in right now, like real estate, the market?
So
businesses.
I put a good amount of money in school.com with Sam Ovens. He opened that up to the quantum investors. That was a big investment as well. I saw the future of that. I was a believer in school because I use school. So that was a big investment for us. And really, it's just more team and better back into marketing for the business. Yep. So like, it's also I think you also got to depend like what you like, right? I remember Alex Ramosi said it recently. He's like, I tried investing in real estate, and I just didn't like real estate. He's like, I just like building businesses. So I'm just going to keep doing that. That's an investment vehicle. It's not real estate, but it's my investment vehicle because it works for me and it's what I'm interested in. So for me, it's like right now, I like building brands, like AdMen, Mastermind. Like that's a brand, that's an identity. So like that's my next investment. It's directly correlated to what I'm doing with adspend.com. It's just a different business, right? It's not agency, it's an education company now, but it's completely congruent. So it makes sense for me to invest in that now. So future pacing, we want a condo in Colombia, so we can go there a few months out of the year. We want a condo in Miami, but those aren't really like, passive income kind of things. Those are just like because I want to do them.
It's just like a quality of life.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's just me though. But everyone has their own thing.
That's an interesting segue because you brought up school, and when you were talking about the progression of, hey, you learn the skill first, then you do it for people, then you teach others how to do it, then you go into personal development. I feel like another branch or like a next step to that I've seen more and more often with guys like Sam Ovens and like Alex Becker
SAS.
is you build out the tools to make that skill more efficient, right? In Sam Ovens' case, making online learning more efficient, and Alex Becker's making understanding how you're spending your ad dollars and attribution more efficient. Is that something that you've ever thought about? I don't know if there's like an applicable, play there when it comes to YouTube ads specifically, but have you ever
like a SaaS specifically? Yeah. I feel like there is. I just know right now the last thing I need is another thing to do. Like there's so much opportunity with just the two things I have right now. I haven't even maximized those. Yeah. So like, it's funny, before the podcast started, I was telling you guys, like, this is literally the last podcast I'm doing minimum for a year. So I can just go back into the monk mode and just go build and really get those businesses off the ground. So that way I actually have more to talk about a year from now. So for SaaS right now, no, but it's just a not yet. Right? It doesn't make sense yet because there's so much opportunity with just these two things. It will make sense because I'll learn more about the target demographic, the market, what they want, and how we can put that into a repeatable, plug and play thing that they just push a few buttons on and have it go work for them.
Yeah, and good for you. I feel like a lot of people don't have that self-control. They want to bounce to the next thing right away because they see somebody else who's not less qualified, but less experienced and maybe has had less success doing, noticeable numbers
we're constantly being pitched every single day on Twitter, on YouTube, on Facebook. SaaS, like you got what's his name on Twitter? Money Twitter. We all Alex, right? Alex from Closify. Yeah. He's pitching start a SaaS. You got to start a SaaS, right? Everyone's pitching. Or some people are pitching you webinars. Webinars the thing, right? VSLs, YouTube ads, Facebook ads.
Yeah.
It'll never stop. So like you just gotta focus. It's really that's why Sam dropped everything to focus on school. So it's like you're going to compete. I'm not going to compete with Sam Ovens, like trying to build a next Kajabi. He's going to win that game. I'm not going to build another. Like if I focus on building a SaaS, that means someone else is going to beat me on the agency side, right? So you got to play what your strengths are, and honestly, what's the most highest return in my opinion right now. But you also have to think about the future too. So it's a constant. Trust me, I'm speaking to myself here. It's like focus, Brian. Focus. So yeah.
One question I had, you mentioned your wife a couple of times, and she was at the event, and she was following you around with the camera, which was pretty dope. Yeah. So talk about having like a wife that supports you in your business, and how that's helped, if it has, because I know a lot of guys in our space are kind of like cautious to get into a relationship or get married because it might derail their success or take the focus off. Yeah.
So a big part that I didn't mention during that whole journey of leaving Dean and then making 30 grand a month by myself. That whole time, a lot of my time was spent on dating and relationships, like learning dating. Like I was reading books like The Dating Playbook for Men, How to Be a 3% Man, The Art of Game, all this stuff, right? Art of Pickup or whatever. And I was on a spree of just like having fun, hanging out and hooking up, dude. Like I was like, okay, I'm making good money. I have a good lifestyle, but I don't have any hot chicks around. Like, why? Like, why? Why? And I really started asking myself why. And I was with Ryan O'Donnell at the time, who's younger, who also, was hungry and wanted to make money and also like, have a good dating life. And we came to the conclusion that, oh yeah, we don't have a funnel. We literally don't have a funnel to get hot chicks. Like it's really that simple. We just didn't have a sales funnel to get leads. Like of course I don't have girls around me. I don't have a way to get leads and turn them into clients. Like it's just that simple. And it sounds funny, but it's really that simple. And so I started doing a year of like trying to master my funnel, and I eventually built a funnel, And I had my leads, and I started working those leads. And
What was the funnel?
YouTube ad.
I have a whole slide by slide. I have a whole slide by slide presentation of how I did it. By the way, I can probably share this with you guys. But I took this very seriously, dude. This is why it worked. So my funnel was, okay, what am I good at, right? I'm good on camera and speaking, right? And so, okay, but how, if I just fish with one method. So for example, some people were teaching, in game, like a day game, right? Going up to chicks in person and meeting them and approaching women, right? I was like, yeah, but like I'm good at marketing online. So how can I use that to my advantage? So then I was like, okay, if I just fish with one fishing rod, I'm gonna get one catch at a time. I'm gonna go maximize my strength, which is social media. So I got on Hinge, I got on Bumble, I got on Tinder, and I used those as my 3 fishing rods. And I had to work those a little bit, but then what I did was, okay, those feed to my Instagram. Instagram, is where I start doing the nurturing, right? I get them in with the dating apps, and then I put them to my Instagram so they know I'm not a fucking weirdo. They know I'm not a fucking psychopath, and they actually see that I really live a cool life. Because my thing was, okay, when I get in a social circle with women and they talk to me, there's interest. Because I know that I'm a handsome guy, I'm a good-looking dude, I'm doing good things, I have confidence. I just need more at-bats. I need more opportunities. I need them to be around me. How do I do that? Well, I can speed that process up with my Instagram, and they check my stories, and they see my content, they see my lifestyle. So
playbook, bro.
This is, trust me, if you guys
like whips out his notepad.
No, it's true. Like,
so I would spend 20 minutes a day swiping, right? But then what I noticed was, okay, the hot chicks, right, the ones that I'm actually interested in, they're not really going to be swiping because they're actually pre-selected, and the algorithm favors obviously the top 1% of guys. And at that time I was like, how can I increase my chance at bats with those girls that I'm actually interested in? Luckily, most of them had their Instagram in their bio. Yeah. And so I had a public profile. You don't have to follow me to see what I'm about or watch my shit. So I would then follow the girls I was actually interested in on Instagram. And again, they don't have to follow me back. The girls that followed me back, there's interest there. So the moment they followed me back, I would immediately, like an appointment setter, video DM them with a personalized video. And I would say, hey, Jennifer, for example, right? My wife. And this is true. This is how I met my wife, dude. And I'm not ashamed to say it because this worked. And when I wanted to meet my wife, I also had made a conscious decision that I wanted to settle, like I wanted to meet someone I can see the rest of myself spending the rest of my life with. I wrote down everything I wanted in my ideal partner, 30 things, right? But not everybody's perfect. You're not going to get all 30. So I circled my top 10 must-have, cannot live without. I got crystal clear on who I wanted. 2 months later, guess what?
upsold.
Comes into the funnel. She's there. She's in the funnel. And then I DM her, and then she sends me a video DM back. And I was like, okay, this girl's different. Like, because no girl does that. Like, most girls won't do that. And she was very cute, and yeah. And so we went on a first date. But basically, the funnel was in dating apps to Instagram. I booked the appointment, obviously the date. And I had a spot I would go to, kind of like you guys have a spot right here. And I was just, it was a funnel, bro. And I maximized it. And then I met Jennifer, and she immediately crossed off 9 boxes on the first date of the 10 that I wanted. Within the next 2 dates, she checked off the next one. And yeah, it was pretty much from there. It was easy.
What do you say on a video note to a girl? Because for me, it would like the voice note is cool because you're not showing your face and you're just fucking around or whatever. But a video, like what did you say?
Yeah, I would basically say, hey Jennifer, so crazy story, but I actually came across your profile on one of the dating apps. I'm not sure which, but I was like, damn, this girl is pretty fucking cute. But I'm not actually sure if she's as cool as I think she is. So rather than just maybe wait for us to match on that dating app, I said, fuck it, and said, I'm going to say hi to you on here instead. And see if you're actually as cool as I think you are. Let me know if you'd be down to grab a drink sometime to see if we get along. That was it. And if you think about that, it's just copy, right? Because it's just sales, and sales is life, and life is sales. It's the same in relationships. It's a numbers game. You have to put in numbers, put in volume, and then just work it, right? And so that script, it worked because it was a script, but it also did everything right. It was like, I'm genuinely interested in you from the very beginning. I think you're pretty cute, right? But I'm not sure if you're actually as cool as I think you are. I really don't know if you are. I don't know. So like, let me know if you'd be down to grab a drink sometime to see if we get along and see if you're actually as cool as I think you are. Challenge, and it's also low barrier offer. It's a low ticket offer. It's not let's go grab a fucking date and get married tomorrow. It's let's go grab a drink sometime to see if we get along.
Well, it's also sales in the fact that you're the only guy that has the balls to actually do that.
Which is another reason why it worked, because most guys, I should say, they would never think about doing that. They're going to do the traditional shit that they think works, but they don't work it, and they don't think outside the box. So me, I'm like, how do I stand out? Just like with Frank Kern, just like with clients, I sent a personalized personalized video DM, and I said, here's who I am. Here's what I'm doing. Here's why I'm reaching out to you, etc. And that's why it worked so well. So I used my strengths to my advantage, and that's what worked for me. and so going back to your original question, I got married to Jennifer because that's also when I was building adspend.com, and she checked off all my boxes. She's exactly what I wanted. And I was like, okay, commit first, figure the rest out later. She's exactly what I want, right? Maybe I didn't expect to get married this soon, but I'm going to do it anyways. And then sure enough, I commit, I eliminate all that distraction that was going on in my life at that time, the energy being wasted from going on dates, spending that money, all that stuff, committing to one girl, and then we hit 7 figures shortly after that. So it worked.
So I guess, just for the audience, how long was it from when you met her to when you got married, and how old were you at the time?
25. We met when it was February. We had our first date right before COVID happened. I was on our first date with her, and this is when the news was saying all the airports are starting to shut down. I was supposed to go to Bali, but I was telling her I was going to go to Bali. We were talking about it, and then the world shut down. And so about four months later, we ended up getting married. Yeah, 4 months later.
4 months from when you met her.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think that's a common theme throughout the podcast.
This is not advice either.
You just commit and then figure it out later.
Dude, commit first, figure the rest out later. And again, I'm not saying that this is the right thing to do. All I'm saying is this is what's worked for me, and was what I did. This is just the truth. I committed to her. I'm figuring the rest out right now. And also, it gave me so much clarity because now, dude, I don't have to worry about all this other stuff, and like, she's the ideal partner I wanted, exactly how I wanted, what I wanted when I wrote it down. And dude, she's the best. So like, dude, committing first, figuring the rest out later, and I just went all in.
So when's baby Brian coming?
Yeah, we don't want kids until like ideally 32, 33. I want like at least 4 more years to just grind and really set our family up for success. Her parents are still in Arizona. We want them to eventually move out to Florida. So, we're still trying to set all that stuff up. I'm obviously still taking care of my parents too as well. So like, there's a little bit more to be done before we introduce a kid. But in the near future, in the next few years.
Talk about that actually, the transition from Arizona to Florida and what the difference in lifestyle is like and how you've adapted since you've moved. Yeah,
so I was in Arizona for 15 years. I feel like I got everything I could out of Arizona, and I wanted to change, and I wanted to be by the beach and expand my network as well. And so this is, again, also during COVID when we moved. I've only been in Miami for about a year and 3 months. And the only place that made sense to move was Florida because it was open, very conservative, pro-freedom, and they didn't have lockdowns and restrictions, masks, and all that shit. And so we moved here for that reason. And the transition was pretty hectic at first because, again, I left my team in Arizona to come move here first and be the first one. And so it was a little bit of a transition period. That was hard and very tough. But having done it, my network has expanded. I met you guys, obviously. That's been a huge addition for the business. The business grew as a result because of our network. And the quality of life in Florida is just crazy, dude. I mean, you go to the beach, go swim
walk outside on a middle of February and it's 80 and sunny,
dude. And then in Arizona, it's 120 degrees in the summer, bro. You can't leave your house.
Well, we're from New York, dude. So like in February in New York, it's like 40 degrees and hailing, and you're like, I hate
shoveling
my life.
snow off your car.
And I'm brown, dude. Like, I'm naturally someone who needs the sun. Like, for some, like, my ancestors, like, they grew up in the fucking like jungle and shit, dude. Like under the sun. So like, I've never been someone who can live in the cold for that long. So Florida just made the most sense, and we've loved it so far.
I feel like the vibe with Miami, at least from an outsider's perspective, is it's like a lot of craziness and there's a party scene and it's a lot, right?
I've never been to one club since I've been to Miami.
So that's what I want to ask. So you're unique in that fact as well. So what does like an ideal day look like for you in Miami? Because I feel like people that
on a Saturday,
or in the week on a weekend,
Saturdays,
UFC.
Usually I work a half day on Saturdays in the morning. That's usually when I'm doing my YouTube content, and then at night, I'll watch the UFC fights with my boys, and we'll go to the movie theater, get the recliner chairs, and watch the UFC on the big screen.
That's dope.
But in the first half of the morning, my wife and I, every single Saturday, we always wake up, go to the beach for about an hour and a half, come home, cook some breakfast, relax, maybe watch a little bit of a show, and then I'll do my YouTube for the rest of the day, and then I'll just go to do UFC after that. So that's a typical Saturday for us.
Dude, just to interject, there's a UFC event coming up in Miami. You gonna go to that?
Oh yeah.
We were talking about it.
The tickets go on pre-sale or like open up to general public. I think next Friday.
Damn, no way,
Going to
dude.
Costa Rica though, so
Okay.
fair trade.
Dude, when that got announced, I was like, fuck. Because my wife and I are going to Mexico City for a week, and I'm like, fuck, we're going to be gone, and then we're going to go to Colombia for 30 days. And so I was like, we're not going to fucking be there. The one time it comes to Miami. And she's like, oh, no. I booked it, and we're going to come back Friday, and we'll be here Saturday, and we leave to Colombia on Sunday. And I immediately hugged her, and I was like, yes! So another reason why she's the fucking best, dude. Like, she didn't even know that was going to happen, obviously, but like, I'm like, yes! So we're going to be there that Saturday for the fights. Yeah,
Dude,
so we all got to go,
nuts.
dude. Yeah, I'm excited, man. UFC, bro.
How'd you get into UFC so heavy?
It's funny, my brother, actually, I was in high school. This is a long time ago, but I was in high school, and that's when he started learning jiu-jitsu with his friends. And I always looked up to my brother, obviously. And so that kind of got me in, and he was the first one to get into UFC. And he was talking about it, and then he got me onto it. And then I just started taking it from there. And there's really, once you watch the UFC, like mixed martial arts in general, there's just no better sport, right? In my opinion, that's just my favorite sport. It's just the most uncomfortable sport, and I became a fan of it. And then I also trained MMA for 6 months in Arizona before I left at a gym called Fight Ready, which is where Henry Cejudo trains out of. Paulo Costa trained out of for a little bit. Korean Zombie trains out of there now. A lot of UFC fighters, John Jones is trained there with Henry Cejudo now. So I trained there for 6 months, learned striking, learned how to defend myself. That gave me a lot of confidence as well. So I really respected the fighters. I also had a lot of fighters around me. That one guy named On Ho, who's a pro now, who's going to be in the UFC soon. And I would see what they're going through. And I'm like, this fucking made me fall in love with the sport even more. So, yeah, so I also trained it. So it really helped me just really love the sport. And that's how I became a fan.
Dude, we've been early UFC fans, like me and AJ, because we're from the same town as John Jones is. So
New
like
Mexico? No.
No.
Binghamton, New York.
Binghamton, New York.
Oh,
Well, he's
shit.
from Endicott. So,
Oh, wow.
yeah, so that's where he
I didn't even
came.
know that.
Yeah, so we were little, probably like 10, 12 years old. Like
Yeah.
we were watching his fights, like in the beginning when he won the belt.
Holy shit,
So,
yeah.
I've been watching UFC for like 10 plus years. And
Yeah.
obviously he's had a rocky path, but I think he's the greatest fighter of all time.
Yeah.
He's coming back, and I think it's next weekend, right? Or
Next
2
weekend.
weekends from now?
Slamming
2
it?
weekends from now.
2 weekends.
We
The
betting
4th.
him?
What?
Are we gonna bet him?
Oh, we're
betting him.
we're betting the fucking.
Would you have
house
bet
on
against
that.
him? Would you have bet on him if he was facing Francis?
No way.
No,
No,
not in his first.
No.
heavyweight fight.
Interesting.
way.
Interesting.
So now
I don't know enough about it, but
I think even if Francis was still in the UFC, they wouldn't have put him up against him in this first fight. I think he would have gotten one. I feel like he would have went with Stipe or
Maybe
somebody
Stipe
else as
and they
his
got him a
first.
warmer, yeah.
Who
I
they
gotta
got
see
him
him at
against now?
heavyweight
Cyril
before.
Gane?
Yeah.
But you think he runs past Cyril?
I don't think he runs past him. I think he wins in a
Decision?
but
Decision, yeah.
unanimous decision. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
he moved up a class, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It's
he
a-
hasn't fought in what, 2-3 years?
It's tough.
Dude,
But
speaking of
heavyweights have a
hometown-
longer shelf life. A lot of them are older.
Yeah, they're older and it's someone like John Jones too. Like just you can tell John Jones is a fucking killer, bro. Like it's not you
Yeah.
can tell he literally is a killer.
Yeah.
He's got the dark side, as Tim Grover calls it in Relentless.
Yeah.
Like this guy literally has a dark side, and he shows it because when he's not fighting, he gets in a lot of fucking trouble. So like that's a killer mentality right there. And so like I hope he wins. That would be
Dude,
so
He
sick.
had a crazy quote the other day, and he was like, they're asking him why he thinks he's going to win. He's like, I really don't believe that God built me as somebody capable of losing. I was like, this guy's a psycho.
Bro, like, dude, you're his opponent and you see that and you're like, oh, okay.
Or like that interview with DC when he was like, I'll spit on you, John. And he was like, I'll fucking kill you.
He's like, I'll kill you.
And he was
like gonna spit on him.
well, DC said like, oh, I'll come over there and spit on you. And he was like, no, like off camera shit. And like, I don't think John knew the camera.
They didn't know it was recording at all.
I will literally kill you.
He's like, you think I'm gonna let you kill me, John? Really? You think I'm gonna let you kill me? He goes, I don't
would
care if
they
you're gonna
beef
let me or
him?
not. I'm gonna fucking kill you.
Did John Jones beat DC like a lot?
It was a
3
huge
times or
rivalry, bro.
something.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
huge.
Like
Damn.
3 times in a row, I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah.
2 times?
Speaking of hometown ties, 3-point contest tonight. My man Kevin Herter's competing.
I don't know anything about basketball, bro. I grew up a
He's like,
Spurs
"What the fuck
fan,
is
but
that?"
like I stopped
What was so
watching them.
funny about that?
No. It's just
Just so random.
because I don't know. I just have no idea who that is.
I just realized it's tonight though. Some
Oh,
kid
okay.
from my hometown that was like a really lanky white kid, developed into a college basketball player, made it to the NBA. Has a huge contract now. It's like just crazy to see.
That's
the
sick, dude.
development. Yeah.
So one more question I had, just because I feel like we've talked a lot about like high level business stuff that may not be applicable to a lot of people, but I think it'll be interesting to everyone. With AdMen right now, that's a free community. I guess what's the goal with that?
Yeah, so it's a mastermind, right? So it's for existing agency owners, media buyers and freelancers, and coaches who want to learn how to create and run YouTube ads, because I've learned that, like, okay, like we talked about earlier, right? You do it yourself and you teach others how to do it. And then more importantly, I'm a product of Masterminds. I've always wanted to have my own mastermind. And I have my own mastermind now. So what the goal is there is like literally teaching what we do at the agency and the results that we get, and we share it inside the mastermind. So if you're someone who wants to scale with ads, you're going to learn everything inside of the mastermind, because not only are we spending close to $2 million a month, which is a handful of clients in this specific space specifically, if you want to just get a fraction of that and add that to your business, well, like, dude, this is the perfect place for you. So my goal with that is next in-person event will be later this year in Miami. We'll have about 25 people flying out for that. I'll have my friends come and speak, like Ravi, hopefully, ideally, and then a few other people like Brandon Carter, who's a client of ours, maybe Jeremy Haynes if I can get him to come. Just add a fuck ton of value. So my goal is like the agency's running, right? High-level clients, a lot of profit, like really big fish and whales, and a lot of success there. Teach inside the mastermind what's working for our clients, and then also have a quality group of people that are also running ads as admin to learn that skill and do it for other people or for their clients as well. So that's the goal for that for now. Yeah, just
Super
focus on
dope.
those two things.
Yeah, the question I always like to ask to wrap it up is like kind of what's next for you, but I actually want to go back and ask the same question that Dean's team asked you in the interview process, which is like, where in a year from now, like where do you want to be ideally? Like what would make you happy a year from now?
Yeah, agency doing $300K a month. I have this all on my goals on my phone, just like the watch,
Yeah.
right? $300K a month from the agency, 100 AdMen Mastermind members, and the first in-person event at the end of this year. And I speak fluent Spanish, and I have 100,000 YouTube subscribers. Yeah,
Sick,
so those are my 4 goals.
Man who knows what he wants.
Yeah.
Also, check out his YouTube, because I know we've talked about the fact that he's great with YouTube ads. One of the most underrated YouTube channels.
Oh, dude, I appreciate
in my
that.
Oh,
opinion.
the
Seriously.
actual
Thank you.
content is
Like your
unbelievable.
video at Cole Gordon's Mastermind was fucking sick.
Oh,
We were
fuck
talking about
yeah.
it last night at dinner.
Hell yeah, dude! Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Yeah,
Unbelievable.
I love making those. The only problem is that like I thought, you have to travel, and like it's just a whole thing in itself, and that only happens like once a quarter, maybe if that. So it's like now to get to 100,000, like I can't just keep doing that. Like it's very niche content too. So I got to dumb it down a little bit, go a little bit more mass market. But I can add those in as like a special, like, because it's YouTube channel's like a TV show, right? Yeah. So I got to have a consistent show. And right now the masterminds are like every once in a while, but those are the best ones that people love. So I'm going to sprinkle those in still because I love doing those, but I got to create my own consistent
Dude,
show.
I bet if you put the dating slide deck as a video, that'd pop off. That would be a good video.
Yeah, damn, I could. That could be a good overview.
So guys, subscribe to the channel and sign up for our opt-in, and we'll send you the slide deck on.
I'm going to share with you guys first. Yeah. Maybe you guys
But,
teach it in Client Ascension.
Dude, thank you so much for coming on. This was a gem of an episode. Like lots of things to take away from this one. Just as the actual last question, where can our audience find you, follow you, and learn more about what you're all about?
Twitter and YouTube. Twitter at the Brian Moncada, and then YouTube, just Brian Moncada. Subscribe, follow me on Twitter. Those are the 2 places you can find me and interact with me. 100%.
Thanks for coming on, bro.
Sweet.
Yeah,
That's
thanks for
dope.
having me, boys.
Appreciate it, man.
Hell yeah.
Bless.